We're going to go over 3 variations on a Darce Choke, alright? So I'm going to start from the turtle position. So I'll just kind of spin you this way here. So what I want to do is I want to get, like, say, a vice grips. I want to keep my elbows nice and tight because my elbows are flared. James can just kind of like posture and free his head here. He can just kind of loop his head over my elbows. So elbows are in nice and tight. I'm taking a gable grip. Really important detail, I'm not on both of my knees. I'm kind of on one knee and I'm on my foot. My outside foot's really important here because I'm going to use this to push off to tip him over. If you're on that side of the room, you shouldn't be able to see my shoulder. All right, so I want to hide the shoulder into the armpit. So kind of think of the armpit and the shoulder near like a ball and socket. So put the ball into the socket. All right, so when I get this vice grips, elbows are pinched tight. I make him do a chin tuck. I drive off my left leg and I bump with my right shoulder here. Common mistake that people make, they stay on their knee. If you stay on your knee, he can just kind of scissor and come back up to turtle here. All right, so when we do break him down, it's really important that we take our knees off the mat. So if he tries to scissor now and come up, it's a lot harder. All right, so that's a really important detail. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of focus on the breakdown first, because there is a lot more steps now on the actual finish on the Darce Choke. So let's just start off with vice grips, elbows nice and tight, clamp your elbows together. You have a drive leg, so that's your outside leg. You shouldn't be able to see my shoulder on that side of the room, so shoulder goes into the armpit. Make them do a chin tuck, push off your left leg and bump with your right shoulder and take your knees off the mat. So if James, if you try to come up now, it's pretty hard. If I put my knee on the floor, my weight is kind of spread between him and the floor and he's able to come back up. All right, so let's get that up. 3, 2, 1. Let's talk about the finishes now. Right? So we'll just kind of repeat that again. So we get our vice grips, we have our drive legs, that's our outside leg. Elbows are wedged nice and tight. A little detail here, if you want to bring your elbows tight together, kind of go palm facing up on the hand that's on the back of your training partner's head. If you go kind of palm facing in, it's a little bit harder to close your elbow, but if you go palm facing up, you can get your elbows nice and snug. All right, so shoulder into the armpit, we bump, we get him onto his side, we make him do a chin tuck here. So can I spin you around this way here, James? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of make him kind of keep this chin tuck position. So the way I do this is basically I put the frame on the ground here, fingertips facing away, and I reinforce it with my right hand. I'm going to use my right hand to pull my left hand in towards my body. That kind of makes him do this chin tuck. Ear goes down towards the hip so I can get my right hand through deep. Before I unlock my hands, I want to keep the pressure on with the elbow here. I unlock the hands and I kind of wrap with this left hand here. We push this right hand through. I go thumb facing down on the non-choking hand to expose the tricep. Once I grip my tricep, we bring this hand up. With the non-choking hand, we make a V, we put it under our chin. 1 foot at a time, we keep stepping till we step over the legs here. You don't have to step into the mountain, you can just step over the top leg. I send my forehead down to the mat. The reason why I do this is it puts more weight on his arm through my chest. But I don't put my head on the floor because obviously my base is kind of compromised. So just send your head down towards the mat. The last 2 details is basically the non-choking hand, close your elbow, and the choking hand, bring your right elbow to the sky to get the tap. All right, so when we're here, so we break our partner down, and I spin you this side here. We have the frame, we're drawing the chin inwards. This right hand, like say, if you, like what we really want here is, want to get the bicep connected to the artery, all right, and we want to, at the same time, we want to keep like the pressure on his neck. So if you bring your ear down towards his hip, we can get this hand through. Now, say a lot of time it's not going to be that easy just to kind of slide it through. So what you want to do is kind of like, just kind of wiggle your hand through like you're trying to put on like a tight glove. Here now, when you get this right hand in as deep as it can go, when I unlock my hands, I'm using my elbow and like say upper forearm to make him do a chin tuck. Now what I do is I wrap here. Common problems like say when you're doing a Darce Choke, you're trying to bring your hand to your tricep and it can be like a little bit shallow. So what we're basically going to do is when we go a thumb down, we bring our tricep to our hand and then we lock it up. So I really want you to focus on that detail. So if I just bring the head inwards, when I lock it here, it's fairly tight, but it's not as tight as exposing my tricep, bringing it to my hand and then locking it up. We'll go back there one more time. So again, we break them down, we're up on our knees, so I just spin you this way here, James. Hand goes to the floor. Right hand grips the left hand, we pull him in towards us, we make him do a chin tuck. Now what I want to do is keep the pressure on with the elbow, and I go thumb down here. Right hand goes through, my head goes down towards his left hip. When I go thumb down, that exposes my tricep. I bring my thumb back up, we make a V with the non-choking hand. We keep walking over the legs. If you can, get your hand under your chin, and I'm going to close my left elbow in, raise my right elbow high, send my head to the floor to get the tap. Alright, so 3, 2, 1. So next one is basically going to be a similar setup. So let's say, like when we get this vice grips and we have this leg, obviously we're looking to try, like say, break him down to his hip and shoulder, just because he's less kind of mobile when he's on his side and he's less athletic. Whereas if he's in this kind of turtle position, he can kind of like build to 4 points and he can do like different types of counters. So ideally, if we can, try break him down to his hip and then start working from here. Remember the detail we spoke about, keep your knee off the floor so you can carry your weight. But a lot of the time, when you go to bump someone down, especially if they're kind of like say quite athletic, strong, and they have good base, they're gonna say like, they're gonna take like seriously like a more like a kind of like a wrestling kind of turtle. And basically what that is if you just even stay on just your elbows there. So if his elbows and knees go wide and I try break him down, it can be pretty hard. Whereas if he takes more of a jiu-jitsu kind of turtle where he's kind of defending hooks and so on, it's going to be easier to break him down. All right, so just kind of keep that in mind. So when he does kind of like adopt that kind of like say wrestling turtle, so if he goes wide, it's going to be harder to break him down, but there's a lot more space now for us to sink in chokes, and if you're behind him, obviously you can put in hooks for the back and so on. So if you try like visualize say like a center line, so where his spine is, imagine this line kind of continues. So maybe if I bring you in this direction here, kind of put you in the middle of this line here. So if you see the line roughly on the mat here, this is his center line. So this is really important. So I'm going to try breaking down, and say we're not able to break him down, so I'm going to step through that center line here. Once I do this, I'm basically going to do a sit through. So my right leg passes that line and I pull him up on top of me. All right, and then we can go into our Darce Choke, which we'll talk about finishing details in a minute. If I don't step through that center line, so this line here on the mat, so if you go back there again, James, sorry. So if I go here, so I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, and I try sit through here, it's going to be hard to break him down or break him on top of you. Now there is finishes you can do, belly up finishes and stuff like that, but ideally we want to get our opponent say on their side here, and say their shoulder and their head kind of on top of us, where we can start going into our Darce finish. So again, how we do that is, so on the first one, try to break him down, no success, step this leg through the center line. I'm then going to do a sit through where my right leg passes that center line. When my hip hits the floor, my left hand pulls my right hand towards me. So if you kind of look at what happens with my left elbow, here, we pull him up on the hop, and then we can go into our finish. All right, so let's give that a shot. 3, 2, 1. James had to go to work, so we're using Marie now. So just kind of talk about the sit through. So if Marie's in turtle position, I get my vice grips. It's really important that, again, you step this leg through the center line. All right, so the center line is basically where this line kind of continues from, say, Marie's spine, so out in this direction. So if I'm kind of like not stepping through it, it's going to be hard to, like say, pull your training partner on top of you. So what I want to do is step. And then the movement basically on the sit through is basically, so if you don't worry about, don't look at my hands, so basically what I'm doing with my leg is my right foot passes that line here. And I drop to my knee and my hip and then my shoulder and my back, and I pull Marie up on top of me where my back hits the floor. So my left hand is pulling my right hand up on top. So we just kind of do that movement one more time without the hand. So left leg, post leg, steps through the center line, and then your sit through leg, your right leg goes through that. So it's going to be my foot, knee, hip and shoulder that hit the mat. All right, so if we go back in this position here, I step, foot, knee, hip and then shoulder, and then we put our training partner up on top. All right, and then we can start to go into our finish. So the detail now on the finish that we're going to focus on is basically your non-choking hand, so that's your left hand, that pulls your choking hand towards you, because what that does is that gives you more connection with the bicep on the artery. So I'm just kind of being loose here so you can kind of see it. So left hand pulls the right hand through. Same details as what we did on the finish when we finished on top. I'm going to go thumb down to expose the tricep. I bring the non-choking hand up and make a V. And now what I want to do is I start walking in towards my training partner. Marie, can I just bring you this way here? So I'm walking in towards my training partner, trying to trap their head between my chest and stomach. Right, her head comes up, this kind of helps Marie for like different types of escapes. So the way we do this is basically, I'm going to close the elbow down with the non-choking hand. So here, I bring that inwards, right down towards the floor. I keep walking, I make Marie do a chin tuck, and then I bring my right elbow up towards my right shoulder to get the finish. The head position is really important. There is different ways of kind of finishing your Darce, like say belly up finishes, but if you're kind of doing this side on finish, it's really important that we try trap the head between kind of like somewhere between our chest and ideally the stomach if you can. So once I sit through and I pull Marie on top, if I'm belly up, you can see that it's hard for me to kind of trap her head between my stomach and chest. So here we've kind of a couple of different options. One is when we sit through, stay on your side, we can work from here. If Marie is kind of like, say, if her head is kind of like on my belly or my chest, all we're basically do is just like hip escape to get to our side. And then that puts that head in that area. That's really important. So ideally what we want is, this is the way ideally it should look, is when we sit through, we're on our side straight away. All right, but if Marie's head is kind of on my chest or on my belly, post your right leg on the floor, left leg as well, hip escape. That head falls into that kind of breadbasket area, and then you're able to get your finish. All right, one more detail as well. If our head is kind of still coming up here, when you lock up the Darce, closing the elbow should bring the head into the kind of breadbasket area as well. All right, so we'll do it one last time. So again, so vice grips, step through the center line, we do our sit through. Once your kind of back and shoulder hit the mat, you're going to use your left hand to pull your right hand towards you. Here, all right. We do a second kind of pull with the hand to get the choking hand in deep. Thumb down to expose the tricep, we make a V with the non-choking hand, we close the elbow, get their kind of head in between our stomach and chest, and I keep walking, and then I bring my right elbow up towards my shoulder to get the finish. We'll work this from a front headlock, right? So let's say I have a left-handed front headlock, and then say I have my arm in place here, so I'm wrapping it over the tricep. A lot of the time, one of the responses you're going to get is your partner's going to come up on, say, their near leg here, all right, and I'm going to try, like, say, do like arm drags and kind of peek outs and these kind of like counters. Or Marie might come up to, like, say, both legs. So it doesn't really matter too much, all right? But let's say that we just find that we're not able to break her down, and she stands up on this left leg. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut more of an angle, so I bring my knee past her head and I step here. So that's really important. And you can see my forehead's like kind of nearly touching her quad. So I'm going to draw my left elbow in towards my hip. My right hand goes deep and I go crease of the elbow to the crease of the knee. That's really important. I lock up an S grip first. All right, once I get the S grip locked, I take my forehead from her knee and I bring it over her back here. I bring that left knee through and I keep stepping here. I tuck my elbow in towards my hip and then I raise my right elbow high here to break Marie down to her side. So similar kind of a position that we worked, say, on our first setup on the Darce. So when I'm in this position, I want to try, like, say, bring my elbows, always bring my elbows in towards my body. If I want to upgrade to, like, say, a gable grip or a butterfly grip from the S grip, you can do that. You can stay with the S grip, you can go to a gable grip, or you can go to a butterfly grip. So, but you're always trying to bring these elbows in nice and tight to your body. So I've just upgraded to a gable grip here. So I'm going to keep sliding my knee around to bring my right leg closer to Marie's top leg, which is her left leg. So my knee goes behind here. I step with my left leg, all right? I bring my elbow in and I bring my left leg in towards me. All right, so I have her in a really bad position. So she's kind of curled up in this kind of like nearly like fetal position. So keep your left elbow tight. You take your right hand out because your right leg is now controlling her top leg. My right hand goes through. And now we're in the exact same position. So draw my elbow inwards, we expose the tricep by going thumb down, and then we get the same finish as what we worked on the first technique. So again, we're in our front headlock. Marie stands up on her left leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm down on my left knee and I'm up on my right foot. I slide my left knee through and I step with my right leg. I reach for Marie's leg. I go elbow deep on the crease of the knee. I take an S grip. Once I get the S grip, I free my head and I look over the far shoulder. I slide my knee through again, I get behind her. I bring my elbows in tight. Left elbow goes in towards my hip and then my right elbow goes over towards her far hip to break her on her side. All right, so if I spin you around this way here, Marie, sorry. So what I want to do is keep these elbows in tight to my body. Right leg goes behind her left knee and then I stand. Always bring this left elbow into the hip My right hand then comes through because my right knee is controlling her top leg here. So right hand comes through. We go thumb down to expose the tricep, bring the hand up and make a V. We step with the left leg, left leg till we go over this mount position, forehead to the mat, and then raise our right elbow to the sky to get the tap. Alright, so that's our last one. 3, 2, 1.